our directors, William Patterson, John Coleman, and Andy Capps, who are board members on the Finance and Administration Committee. However, I do want to note that the committee will conduct no official business during the forum. I just want to say that we do know that there is a lot of development going on in our region, and we know that we're a critical part of that process. So we have a number of goals for today's forum. First, we want to share with you an overview of the process for applying for water service and provide tips to help you through the process. Second, we want to answer your questions about the process. And finally, we want to share with you some of our near-term and long-term plans to improve the process. But just as important, we want to hear from you and any suggestions you have to improve the process as well. Joining me today are presenters Jack Flynn and Jenny McGregor. And we have a number of other East Bay MUD staff who are here to answer your questions after the presentation. But before we begin, I'd like to introduce Director Coleman to say a few words.
Great, thank you very much, Clifford. And I'd like to thank all of you. We have 120 participants online for this forum today. I've probably talked with a number of you, or you sent me emails in the past about issues you faced with trying to go through the process at East Bay MUD in order to get your plans approved and delays. And as Clifford mentioned, we'll be talking about short-term and long-term needs. I understand these issues very much because some of you know, about 15 years ago, plus I worked for a developer, and I also know that time equals money. And then when the economy turns south, sometimes a project can't happen as a result because the money might not be available or the circumstances change. I appreciate what staff is doing to try and look at long-term and short-term. We look forward to hearing from you, as well as we look forward to your questions. And I think that covers it from my end. I'm going to be on the forum the entire time, listening and taking notes. So I will now turn this over, I guess, back to Jack.
Thank you. Thank you, Clifford, and thank you, Director Coleman. So we have 4 major goals for today's forum. We'll review the development project process. We'll also discuss our planned near and long-term improvement process plans, like we've discussed. And then we'll open up the forum to general discussion with East Bay MUD's subject matter experts regarding the application and development process. So, and then finally, after the forum, we'll have an opportunity for each one of the attendees to provide feedback individual regarding the forum itself, and then any additional questions or comments you might have. And then just some technical tips before we get started with the presentations. And today we're utilizing the Zoom Q&A feature, or the button Q&A, for you to enter any questions, comments, suggestions. So please utilize that as a way to ask questions throughout the forum. If something comes up or an item that you want to have discussed, make sure you put that information in that Q&A button. It is being monitored by East Bay MUD staff, and questions that are not directly related to the forum and the topics we're discussing will be answered. And then any additional questions that we'll answer at the end will be answered by subject matter experts. And know that we did have pre-submitted questions received. And so if we answer a question that might not be worded exactly like yours, we're trying to make sure we answer the most questions we can and as broad as we can with those topics. But please do put in your questions. Any questions that we don't get to within the time frame that we have allotted, we'll make sure that we post and publish on our websites. So, and then just again, with that reminder, any question that's specific to your project or something that you don't want to post with everyone here to see, you'll have an opportunity after the forum's done, after the Zoom's done, to submit a survey, and in that survey you can post a specific question for a project that you're working on, or something that you would want to have East Bay MUD staff respond to specific to you. So I appreciate you being here, and I'm looking forward to a successful forum. So as Clifford mentioned, there's 2 presenters today, myself, Jack Flynn, manager of the new business office, and then also Jenny McGregor, senior civil engineer with water service planning. And to start the presentation, I always believe it's important to have an understanding of where East Bay MUD's water comes from, and the systems in place that are needed to provide excellent water throughout our community. Pardee is our major reservoir, which is connected to the McCallamy aqueducts, which transport water over 90 miles to East Bay Mud's distribution system. An East Bay Mud system consists of 6 treatment plants, 167 reservoirs, 136 pumping plants, and over 4,200 miles of pipelines. All of this is needed to provide clean, safe drinking water to our customers around the East Bay. And whenever there is a new application for water service, whether it be for a new meter for a single family home or a main extension for a large development, you are connecting to this vast system and becoming a new member of our community. And that community enjoys the clarity and the reliability of East Bay Mud's water system. And this robust system brings great quality of water to over 1.4 million people. And the complexity of East Bay Mud's water system requires a detailed new water service application process. The application process can be seen as having 4 major components. We have the applicant, or that's the individual or the organization that is seeking new, upgraded, or expanded water use from East Bay Mud. We have the administrative process and varied professionals at East Bay Mud involved in reviewing the administrative review of the application. We have our engineering process, the technical professionals providing guidance, hydraulic analysis, and design work. And then we have our construction professionals putting pipe in the ground, providing construction inspection, and bringing water to our new customers. Now, the first aspect of the new water service application and the development process really begins with the applicant. The applicant brings a need for water service to East Bay Mud through our online water service application. And East Bay Mud processes all applications in the order that are received. So what does this mean? Well, we have one application process, our online water service application system. It's robust enough to handle anything from a single family home to a main extension. And each application that's submitted goes into our queue for assignment, where applications are assigned as a first come, first served basis. So as an applicant, how can you take advantage of this, this process, the system? Well, make sure you help yourself out first by reviewing all the published information that we have online. Go through and refresh yourself with the regulations governing water service to customers, know the schedules of rates and fees, so then you can make sure that you're submitting a complete application, and then apply early in the process. You know, it's a first come, first serve basis for the application, so apply early, provide a complete application, and then know as the assignments come up, it is as you submit, you'll be assigned. And this map here is just an indication of the active applications we have within our service area as a whole, and not including the ones that have been completed or any drafts that are waiting to be submitted and waiting to be processed. We receive hundreds of applications a year, and we process hundreds of applications a year, so get in early. Some application process tips. When applying for water service, know that the process does take time, and it requires you to prepare information as part of the application process. We require most projects to contact their local fire marshal, and for the applicant to have their fire marshal complete a hydrant fire service dual service requirements form. So if you're submitting plans to your local fire marshal, have them also fill out that East Bay Mud form at the same time. Help yourself out by making sure your fire marshal is filling out all the needed information to help you be successful with a water service application. You also need to upload documents regarding fixtures and irrigation information. And again, make sure you're helping yourself be prepared when you're starting to process online for the application. And then I can't say this enough, but submit the application early. Come to us early in the process, help us provide you with enough timing to make your project successful. The next major section of the application process is the administrative professionals that review the application. We determine metering requirements, and we ensure the project is complying with East Bay Mud's regulations. Talking about regulations, regulations are important to East Bay Mud because they ensure that we provide equity to all our customers, and equitable and fair treatment in how we assess water service and water meters. And we utilize these regulations in determining the meter requirements. Section 1 of the regulations deals with the definitions of terms. It's important that as applicants, you understand the terms that East Bay Mud utilizes, so then we can be successful and have a shared dialogue when we're discussing your project. Some key terms here is how East Bay Mud defines premises. We use it as relating to the actual parcel of real estate, and then we also talk about it throughout the regulations for metering requirements. So if you have a big project and you're thinking about subdividing it into a bunch of different premises or parcels of real estate, think about that might change your metering needs for your subdivision or for the project that you're working on. We also talk about a lot separate structure and what that means to East Bay Mud. Well, we see a separate structure as meaning a distinct building with separate or shared walls, and the final determination being East Bay Mud. Really kind of, when you think about it, if you're building a multi-occupancy residential building or a commercial building, and you have two separate structures, and if you get away any breezeways or walkways in between them, they look like two separate structures, we might call them two separate structures and require each structure to be individually metered. Another item that is defined in section 1 is dwelling unit. And why I bring this up is because it matters for how you meter the different type of projects that you're working on, as well as potential fees that may be assessed. If you ever think about accessory dwelling units or junior accessory dwelling units like ADUs or JADUs, we recommend you contacting the new business office directly. Come talk with us. Let us know about your project, what your project needs, the water that you need, and help us help you make wise decisions for the metering requirements. As we continue through the regulations, we look at section 2, which provides guidance in applying for service and has requirements for metering services as well. So when you're applying, make sure you go to wsa.ebmud.com. Again, it's a robust application system that's online and allows you to apply online and upload all your documents there. Apply early in the process. And then if you have a complex situation, if you're dealing with a large development, or you know that your project's going to need a main extension and you want information before you apply, we offer pre-application meetings. So East Bay Mud staff can sit down with you. We can discuss your project, discuss your needs, go over metering requirements, go over anticipated costs and timing, ask the new business office for a pre-application meeting, and we can meet with you prior to you submitting an application. Section 2 further explains when meters are needed. And know that each unit in a newly built multifamily or multi-occupancy commercial industrial premises needs to be individually metered. So as you're planning for your projects to be laid out, understand East Bay Mud's metering requirements, so then you can help ensure there's space and availability for putting meters that's required as East Bay Mud's regulations. And as we continue through the regulations, section 17 gets into more details about when East Bay Mud wants to have someone apply for water service review. So we require any premises apply for water service review when there's a new water use equipment added, or when the water use changes, or when a dwelling unit type conversion occurs. So we understand that businesses change hands, property sells, what was originally a single family home can get torn down and be turned into a duplex or quadplex. And we want to have an application so then we can make sure that we're reviewing the existing service that's there, making sure it's adequate for the new project needs and new project demands. And so if there's a change in use that occurs, we want to know and provide you with a review of the water meter. So if an existing commercial space used to be a library and now it's changed to a commercial kitchen, we want to be able to review that water meter, ensure it's sized correctly for the needs of that commercial kitchen or the needs of the change in use. Likewise, when a dwelling unit type conversion, that single family home to a quadplex, we need to have an application and review. Or if there's large water using equipment that's been added, add a cooling tower, let us review the existing water service so then we know if the meter is appropriately sized for your needs. And when planning your developments, know that East Bay Mud has requirements for metering locations. Section 18 provides guidance on where meters can be located. So know that we will not allow meters to be located in travel right-of-way or private roads, and will not allow meters to be located in driveways. And we do want meters to be located in the principal frontage of our premises between the curb and the customer's premises. And this is because we need to make sure that we're good stewards of our infrastructure. When we have meters that are located in a driveway or in a roadway or a private driveway, that the meter box could get damaged, the infrastructure under the meter box can get damaged, and it's not a good use of the resources that we have. We always have to think of not just our customers now, but our customers that are 30, 50, 100 years that are down the road. And we want to make sure that the infrastructure that is installed and provided to our customers has the longest lifespan possible. So we're being good stewards of the resources that are available to us. Know also when you're submitting an application that we do require information for water conservation review. We'll require you to upload fixture specification sheets so then we can ensure that you're in compliance with California Green Plumbing Code standards. Ensure you're conserving water wherever necessary. Likewise, we're also going to assess your outdoor water usage and know that this could impact your meter size, especially for single family homes. So know that if there's outdoor water usage for landscaping, it might need to meet the Model Water Efficient Landscape Ordinance, or MWELO standards. And MWELO is a state-wide water conservation regulation for new and rehabilitated or remodeled landscape areas. So if you're like, does my project apply to this MWELO ordinance? You can think to yourself, do I have construction over 500 square feet or more of new landscaping? Or is this a rehabilitation or remodeling of landscaping where the total existing landscaping is over 2,500 square feet? And if either one applies, then you're going to have to abide by MWELO standards. And these are just some key items that are needed for you as an applicant to be successful in completing your water service application. Understand that East Bay MUD will assess your application for compliance with all of our regulations. So look up that published information, understand what we're going to assess your project under, and know that we're going to be reviewing your metering requirements. What water using features are you using? How many meters do you need? We'll also require that complete application that you should apply early with, and make sure that you have that hydrant fire service dual service requirements form. And then in order to help your application review and processing be streamlined, make sure you help yourself in providing all that information on that online water service application and submit early in the process so we can move towards getting you new services installed. And now I'm going to pass it over to Senior Civil Engineer Jenny McGregor, who will continue the presentation.
Thanks, Jack. The major tasks of engineering water service for new development are listed here, with the primary goal of planning and designing new water service infrastructure that meets the long-term needs of East Bay MUD's customers. I'll detail how we do this in the slides that follow. Next slide, please. Jack covered the important regulations that govern how we serve water to our customers. These regulations are driven by some of the key principles listed here that inform how we engineer the water system. East Bay MUD must meet all regulatory requirements to meet public health standards in our water system. For example, we must ensure the pipelines meet separation requirements from sewer and storm drain, that pipelines protect drinking water from contamination, and that we maintain acceptable pressure ranges and high quality water throughout our system. East Bay MUD is committed to providing reliable water to our customers, and we plan, design, and construct our pipelines for a 100-year service life to ensure we can meet this commitment. And lastly, East Bay MUD has operated and maintained our water system for almost 100 years. We need to ensure that the pipelines we build today can be operated and maintained for the next 100 years. That means that the pipelines must be installed in a location that is accessible for ongoing maintenance and repair, and that the pipelines are in clean soil that is safe for our workers to maintain. Next slide. East Bay MUD gets involved as early as possible in the development project planning process by providing responses to agency planning documents and environmental documents. The images I'm showing here may be familiar to many of you. They are examples of our typical agency planning application response and letter response to a draft environmental impact report for a major development project. In addition to early review and response on planning applications and environmental documents, we also encourage pre-application meetings with East Bay MUD to inform and address water service needs as the project is being planned. In these responses and meetings, we'll provide preliminary water service requirements, for example, metering requirements, main extensions, or the need for recycled water, and we'll identify potential issues that would need to be addressed as part of the water service planning for the project. For example, soil contamination, conflicts with existing East Bay MUD infrastructure, and low pressure service requirements. Next slide. Engineering is required for new water service for a variety of situations, including confirming meter size for new large water or new large standard services, providing flow and pressure information through hydraulic analysis for private fire services, confirming that fire flow requirements for new public hydrants can be met, and addressing recycled water use in new developments where available. I'll focus on engineering of main extensions because they require the most time and effort for engineering, and we anticipate many of the questions and feedback today could relate to main extensions. Next slide. Planning for main extensions starts when we accept a new water service application and extends through preparing the main extension agreement. I've divided this planning effort into 4 main areas, starting with engineering review of the project plans and site information, and ultimately concluding in an agreement that is signed by the applicant. To begin planning for a main extension, the key items that we require as part of the water service application include a tentative map showing the planned new parcel boundaries, draft improvement plans or site plans for both the in-tract development and any off-site street improvements that are required for the project, and a map of hydrant locations and the hydrant fire flow requirements approved by the local fire agency. Next slide. Planning starts with a careful review of in-tract and off-site plans to identify a preliminary conceptual pipeline alignment based on parcel boundaries, planned roadway alignments, required hydrant locations, and potential service locations. Often, the applicant's project development team has prepared a utility plan for the site, and to the extent that this plan meets East Bay MUD requirements, we'll start with the proposed alignment and make changes where needed. For example, minimizing pipeline where it isn't required, ensuring the distribution network consists primarily of closed loops, and ensuring all pipelines are located within an improved and traveled street or right-of-way. We also review site conditions and conduct a site visit. For example, we complete a background review of geohazard conditions such as landslide and liquefaction risk, fault zones, and contamination, which inform our pipeline material selection and may affect the pipeline alignment. We also review for traffic conditions, potential cultural resource presence, or other issues that could require additional services or review. Where we identify conditions that could affect the development plan, like we determine a hydrant location needs to change significantly or a pipeline needs to be constructed in an unanticipated corridor, we'll inform the applicant development team to work through these changes. Next slide. To confirm pipeline diameter and alignment, we also conduct a hydraulic analysis based on fire flow requirements set by the local fire agency and water service requirements for pressure. The hydraulic analysis may also indicate the need for offsite pipeline improvements to meet the project fire flow or water service requirements. Next slide. The draft improvement plans are used to prepare the water service estimate sketch, which identifies the conceptual pipeline alignment, connection points to East Bay MUD's existing water distribution system, hydrants, and instructions to design. The pipeline alignment is considered conceptual because the sketch is not for construction, but is to inform the applicant development team and East Bay MUD design of where a pipeline is required to meet the water needs of the development. The sketch also identifies pipeline material type, size, and approximate length, additional services and special conditions to be included in the applicant agreement, such as requirements for a clean utility corridor due to soil contamination or the need for third-party right-of-way. The sketch also identifies if pipeline will be installed by the applicant or will be installed by district forces, which is required when the total pipeline length is under 1,000 feet. On projects that are more complex or that deviate substantially from the applicant utility plan, we coordinate pre-review of the water service estimate sketch with the applicant's engineer before finalizing for agreement. Next slide. Lastly, planning concludes with the development of the cost estimate for pipeline design and other engineering services, construction inspection, district provided materials, and pipeline installation for district installed jobs per East Bay MUD's rates and charges. The sketch and cost are incorporated into the agreement that is sent to the applicant for approval. Once the agreement and appropriate payment is received, East Bay MUD can initiate design and start coordination of environmental compliance and permitting requirements. Next slide. I've divided East Bay MUD pipeline design into 3 main phases, but some steps within these phases can happen concurrently and often do to keep design rolling. The goal of pipeline design is to use the water service estimate sketch and turn it into a constructible design. Key design items that are required to start design are listed here. Final improvement plans are defined as improvement plans that are complete, no longer being edited, and have been stamped by the engineer of record. They are at or near 100%. Basically, the set of plans submitted aren't expected to require a change to the pipeline design. For example, the public right-of-way does not shift, grade doesn't change, utility information doesn't change, or if it does not affect our water main. A change to our past requirement of agency approval, final improvement plans do not need to have been approved by the city or county prior to design. Topographic survey of both in-tract and off-site areas is required. Off-site areas can include where East Bay Mud will connect new water mains to our existing water distribution system, or where off-site pipeline improvements are required to meet the needs of the development. If topographic survey is already completed off-site, then it should be provided. Otherwise, East Bay Mud will complete the necessary topographic survey at the applicant's expense. The electronic design or CAD file submitted for the project must be in NAD 83 horizontal datum, which is the datum that East Bay Mud uses as the basis of all our pipeline design. And lastly, a subdivision map, parcel map, or legal and plat are required, and we will work with you to incorporate East Bay Mud easement requirements into these documents prior to recording. Next slide. Pre-design work includes reviewing applicant plans and files to ensure they meet our requirements and that all the information is provided for successful design. Clearances between East Bay Mud's proposed water pipeline and other utilities, such as sewer, storm drain, and joint trench, are confirmed, along with other East Bay Mud pipeline design criteria. Where the utility clearances don't meet minimum State Division of Drinking Water requirements or East Bay Mud design criteria for separation from other utilities or above ground features, the design project manager will reach out to the applicant team to address these issues to avoid or minimize delays to the design schedule. Pre-design work also includes completing any necessary survey work and potholing for existing utilities to avoid conflicts and resulting delays during construction. And lastly, the plans are reviewed for any required easements, not just for the pipeline, but also for East Bay Mud hydrants, meters, and other appurtenances. Next slide. The detailed design includes preparation of the items listed here, including detailed design drawings, traffic control plans, district furnished materials lists, and specifications for special conditions that aren't included in East Bay Mud standard specifications document. Ensuring accurate design and good construction documents avoids change orders and potential delays during construction. Next slide. Lastly, in final design, the parcel map or legal and plat review are coordinated between the applicant and East Bay Mud to ensure easement requirements are included before the documents are recorded with the county. Where water main separation requirements from storm drains or sewer could not be met, East Bay Mud coordinates a variance request with the State Division of Drinking Water per Title 22 California Water Works standards. Once these items are addressed, the design drawings are finalized, signed and stamped, and are released for construction upon final payment. Next slide. Some of the key elements of projects where engineering is the most successful include those where East Bay Mud and the applicant project team have a strong partnership that includes effective and timely communication and where issues are resolved quickly. Where early review and comments from East Bay Mud have been incorporated into the project prior to the application, projects that ensure utility clearance requirements are met to eliminate the need for a variance request from the state, which can take a few months to receive. And lastly, ensuring that all files that are provided to East Bay Mud for design are complete and the CAD line work matches with submitted improvement plans to minimize the back and forth coordination that is needed to resolve inconsistencies between the information. Next slide. My last few slides cover the construction element of East Bay Mud's new service process. The major tasks of construction include ensuring the pipeline and services that are constructed meet East Bay Mud standards, coordinating construction activities with the applicant's construction team, and installing new water mains and services with the primary goal of ensuring quality construction so that East Bay Mud's infrastructure is built to last. Next slide. East Bay Mud conducts construction inspection of new mains and is also responsible for installing services and main extensions under 1,000 feet in length. To start putting pipe in the ground, known groundwater and soil contamination issues need to have been addressed. Construction permits and environmental permits need to have been obtained. All project submittals need to have been provided by the applicant and approved by East Bay Mud. Examples of submittals include grading certification, qualifications to install certain pipe materials, and flushing and chlorination plans. Lastly, storm drain and sewer pipeline need to have been installed where there will be new East Bay mud pipelines. Next slide. Primary tasks of construction inspection include coordinating construction activities between the East Bay Mud and applicant construction teams, reviewing and approving submittals, ensuring the pipeline that is installed is per East Bay Mud drawings and specifications, completing pipeline as-built drawings, and ordering all district furnished materials that are needed for the job. Next slide. Primary tasks that are performed by East Bay Mud District forces include installing main extensions under 1,000 feet in length, completing all wet work such as connections to existing East Bay Mud pipeline and pipe kills, operating all in-service valves, conducting pressure testing and chlorination to bring new mains into service, and installing all services. Next slide. East Bay Mud wants our pipelines and services to be constructed efficiently and in accordance with our standards and requirements. For construction of pipelines and services to be successful, maintaining open and ongoing communication will go far in keeping the project on track. Sharing any potential project changes early lets the construction inspector work with you to keep the project on schedule as best as possible. As I stated previously, for projects that are installed by the applicant, there are submittal requirements that must be met prior to starting construction. East Bay Mud's construction inspectors can walk you through what is needed for these submittals to ensure a smooth submittal and review process. Lastly, East Bay Mud's grading and subgrading requirements must be met. These requirements ensure that our pipelines can be constructed with sufficient cover, and grading changes needed by the applicant to meet these requirements can result in construction delays. That concludes my talk. Now Jack will end the presentation with a summary of planned improvements for East Bay Mud's water service process. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. That was great information. It really helps provide a clear understanding of key items and ways applicants can help themselves by ensuring information is flowing and creating partnerships. So then we can get new water in the ground and keep it moving. And now, like Jenny said, we're going to discuss our planned near-term and long-term improvements to the East Bay Mud application process. So while we're always looking at ways to improve the applicant process, the district has heard feedback. We've heard you, the development community, and we want to move forward with specific short-term improvements to address the needs of the community. As Jenny had previously explained, we are now accepting improvement plans that are not final but we want firmly established alignments, which aren't expected to change the alignment of the pipeline that we're going to be designing. We're also expanding our internal resources to support the administrative review process, allowing more applications to be processed and helping to address the peak demand that we're currently experiencing, where we've been receiving a high volume of complex water service applications, which has been affecting the overall processing times. So we're addressing that internal resource need. We're also heard from you as the development community of the idea of piloting the concept of allowing applicants to support the trenching and excavation on certain specific projects. So we need to determine if that actually helps the process. Does this reduce costs? Does this reduce timelines? Is this a benefit to the overall application process? And this was something that was brought up by the development community. We heard you, we heard your concerns. We want to move forward with targeted pilots that make sense. And then, like I previously talked about, we're supporting the pre-application meeting process and also the concept of having bi-monthly project meetings to track progress of large processes or large projects. So if you have a large project that's coming through the East Bay Mud system, know that we're committed to supporting that project. Likewise, we're committed to providing pre-application support. Let us talk with you prior to you submitting an application so we can ensure that you're successful throughout the process with East Bay Mud. We also have long-term solutions that are being explored. We're committed to making real changes. So we want to help the current development, but we also realize the importance of looking into the future and making sure that we're ready for the next boom, that we're ready to help the next cycle of applicant projects as they come through. And we understand the economy is cyclical. There's booms, there's busts. We need to be flexible in our solutions. And so in exploring that, we're exploring our ability to augment our existing resources with consultants to determine if this helps reduce the overall timelines of processing applications. Then we're also committed to seeing our pilots expanded. And part of that is also we're committed to assessing the results of our pilots. If a pilot works, let's expand it. If it doesn't work, let's figure out something else that works. And we're committed to hearing your feedback, the development community's feedback, and determining what we can do to make it happen and to pilot those situations. And then we're also committed to updating our online water service application system, improve the experience, make it easier to use, easier to work with, know that your feedback on the application system as a whole doesn't fall on deaf ears. We're hearing it, we want to make changes, and we're committed to making those changes. And with that, I want to thank you for your time and listening to the presentation. We're now going to move forward with our question and answer period. And here's the list of subject matter experts. We pulled everybody from East Bay Mud that has an expertise within the application development process. So know that any question that you have will be addressed by a subject matter expert, and we're here ready to hear your questions and respond appropriately. And know that we have received some pre-submitted questions, so we're going to go into those. And then also, like I stated at the beginning of this, that understand that we're reviewing all the questions that were submitted. Please continue to submit those questions. Utilize the Q&A feature of Zoom. And if we don't answer your exactly worded question, we're hoping to answer a question that's similarly worded that may have been pre-submitted. And then just a cleanup item, we are planning to end this forum at 2:30. So if there's any questions that we don't get to, or questions that need to be addressed afterwards, we are going to take the responses to the questions that were pre-submitted and the questions that are asked here, and we'll post them online after the forum. And then Cheryl Ledoux with the new business office, she'll be providing the subject matter experts with pre-submitted questions or with questions. She'll ask the questions and then I'll give us a chance to answer those. And then I'm going to switch it to the next slide, which has some key links and some key information that you can copy down. And again, this presentation will be posted later online, so then you can go and find the links to the information. But with all of that said, Cheryl, please start us off with the first question.
Thank you, Jack. Okay, well, this question is for you, Jack. What is East Bay Mud's plan for shortening the overall timeframe of water service applications?
Okay, well, that's close to like the concept that we've been talking about, but we're looking at a multi-tiered approach to reducing the overall application timeline for all applications. So we're addressing the immediate concerns by adding the additional resources to the administrative review process. And then we're also exploring piloting of allowing applicants to perform excavation, like I stated before, and then also making sure that that pilot is expanded and then assessed. Did it work? Did it meet our needs of the development community? Did it actually improve the process? And is that something that could be expanded beyond a pilot? Then we're also looking at towards the future with exploring if augmenting resources with outside consultants could help in flexible situations. So when we are hit with large amounts of applications, large amount of complex applications, that we can have resources available to us to be flexible in meeting the needs of the development community. Again, right, there's cycles within construction. There's booms and busts, and we need to be flexible in how we address those needs, so then we can make sure that we help our community as a whole. Thanks. Next question, please.
Thank you. The next question is also for you, Jack. What can we do as applicants to mitigate the long turnaround?
Okay, so again, I'm going to just touch on some quick topics here. And one of the main ones, and I said it a couple times in the presentation, but come to East Bay Mud early in your process. Help us help you out. So if you're planning a large development, or you know the needs of your development is going to require main extension or offsite improvements, or if we're going to need to relocate a main due to work that you're doing in the street, come to us early on in the process, so then we can help you out. Coming, asking for pre-application meetings, that's before you're even ready to submit an application, you can ask us to get engineers, designers, we could get Office of Water Recycling in the room, anyone that's needed. So then we can make sure that we're talking directly to your project about the needs of your project. And that way, when you do submit an application, you know what East Bay Mud already needs ahead of time. And then also get your fire marshal to sign off on East Bay Mud's fire form. I know that that's something that oftentimes we hear applicants say, oh man, it takes me more time because I have to go back to the fire marshal. And so know right off the bat that this is something that we require for the majority of projects. And if you don't know if your project's going to require that fire marshal form signed off, give us a call. We're happy to talk with you at the new business office. So call us at 510-287-1008, or you can shoot us an email if you prefer that. We're happy to help you out and happy to help moving that application process along. So as the applicant, it's important that you submit a complete application, you submit it early on in the process, and you know the needs of East Bay Mud. And by that, come talk to us, help us help you. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. And Jack, again for you, is there a timeline that is established and must be maintained for processing an application?
That's a great question. So, so we have been having times for various types of applications. When we receive an application that's beyond our normal application, it's hard to provide a specific timeline for that. So if there's like contaminated soil issues or a very complex phased item or a very long main extension, our timing might be off for case-by-case issues. But our aim as a whole by East Bay Mud is that we understand that the timing oftentimes is as important or even more important than the cost. And it's like, when can we get our project to market as quickly as possible? And we get that our applicants, our community, our developers need to get water service in the ground fast. And so our aim is to help that happen and help that occur with the workforce that we have. And so when we're trying to figure out timing for your project, or if you're trying to figure out specific timelines, again, we want you to utilize that pre-application meeting. Come talk with us. Let us know the specifics. Let us know the ins and outs. You know your project better than anyone. And so if you know that you've got contaminated soil on your project, or you've got mitigation issues, or you're going to need to relocate one of East Bay Mud's mains, you know that. Let us know that too, so then we can provide you with an accurate timing for what we're anticipating it's going to take. We need to know the scope of your project, your needs, and then we can work on actually figuring out the specific timings to help you out with your project. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is for Mike Ambrose, Manager of Maintenance and Construction. Mike, what is the timeline for getting a job added to the installation calendar?
So we might want to take 4 and 5 together, since I'll answer the whole sequence there. The next question is about how long it takes to install services, hydrants, and how many feet per day can East Bay Mud crews install. So essentially what happens is once the project's done, it's ready, the orders go to the yard, and then within a day or so, someone will reach out to the applicant and schedule a field meet, just to make sure that the site's ready to go, that everything's ready for construction. Then within 2 to 4 weeks from that day, the project will begin, construction will begin. And the construction varies obviously based on the scope of the work, the site that's there. Is it developed property, or is it in our urban infrastructure? There's a lot of variables in there, but we can get a service in within a day of construction. More complicated projects with pipe and hydrants, et cetera, may take several weeks. So it's hard to put an exact number on it without knowing the specifics. But that gives you the range of time we're talking here, from when the yard receives the orders to the end of construction can be several weeks, maybe a couple months. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. The next question is for Jack Flynn. Jack, what is the timeline from when an application is submitted to when it is assigned a project manager?
This is a great question. And really there's kind of two parts here to this question. So the first concept is how long does an application take to be reviewed after it's submitted? And we perform this fairly quickly. So in the process of submitting an application, you spend all the time, the effort as the applicant to submit what's a complete application. You have all the information there. You spent the time, you've gone to the fire marshal, you've uploaded the fixture sheets or the specification sheets, you've uploaded the information regarding landscaping and irrigation, and you submit an application. Well, that application has an initial review, and right away within 3 business days, the new business office performs an initial review of that application. We review to make sure that all that information you've submitted is what we need. To consider that a complete application. And so that process is done quickly, and we want to get back to you quickly as well. So if you're missing something, say like maybe a PDF that got uploaded was the wrong PDF, and we can shoot you back a quick email saying that the application is considered incomplete and it's missing the following information. So that's a fairly quick process. And then once you've actually submitted a complete application, everything is where it needs to be, and you're ready to get put into the assignment of the queue. Know that East Bay Mud, we aim to have our queue within a 4 to 8 week timeline for our backlog, but we've seen a large amount of applications come through. We're hitting what we've seen as a peak, or we're calling a peak application workload, where we've been receiving 2, 3, even 4 applications per day. And these are applications from everything from a requested meter for an ADU to a large main extension that's going to take a lot of effort. We have a streamlined staff, and we're doing our best to process these applications. And that's why previously we had committed to adding additional resources to the administrative review process, and we've committed to that, and we are adding. But we have seen that goal of ours for getting an application assigned has been doubled, and we're doing our best to reduce that application burden, assigning applications as quickly as we can to keep applications moving forward. Again, we understand the needs of our community. It's timing. It comes down to how fast can we process applications, and we are asking you to help us by applying early and letting us know the timing. Help us to help you by having that communication go back and forth, where we know that you want to get service on the ground as quickly as possible. Help us to know when you need service by, and help us to help you out as much as we can. We want to help the community as a whole. So, but know that we are working to improve our process timelines. We're looking to improve our backlogs, and we're adding additional resources to the administrative review process. So thanks.
Thank you. The next question is for Marisa Boyce, Senior Civil Engineer in our Pipeline Infrastructure Division. Marisa, what is the timeline for getting a main extension through the design engineering process?
Thanks, Cheryl. Our current design timelines are for a smaller job, which we consider less than 1,200 feet, to be about 16 weeks. A medium job, which is around a half a mile, about 6 to 7 months, and a larger job, which is at 1.5 miles or greater, 12 months or longer, depending on the complexity. We can meet these deadlines in an ideal situation, assuming we have everything we need for design and that there are no utility or easement conflicts. And East Bay Mud is currently scrutinizing our design process to further reduce these design times. Thank you.
Thank you, Marisa. The next question is for Jack Flynn. Jack, would East Bay Mud be able to provide estimated project-related fees upfront for project planning and budgeting purposes?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm getting good at answering these questions. They're getting right in my wheelhouse. So thanks. Yeah, absolutely. We have our published schedules of rates and fees, and all the costs needed for installing a project. So you can even go online and go to one of the links here, the schedule of rates and fees, and you can see the published costs for installing a project. If you want to know, find out the size or the size of the water meter that you need, then you can see the size of how much that costs to install. You can also go to Schedule J of our schedules of rates and charges and estimate system capacity charges that are necessary there. Or if you've got confusion about this process, or you're kind of like, well, there's a lot of information here and I don't know specifically what I need, or how to help myself through this PDF, I need somebody to help me. Great, contact us at the new business office. We're happy to give assistance. Really, I can't emphasize that enough. Give us a call. We've got our phone number here on the contact slide, got our email address. If there's a way that we can help you and provide you the information that you need to help plan for budgeting purposes, we can help you. We'll provide you the information that's available. Thanks.
Thank you, Jack. The next question is for Richard Liu, Principal Management Analyst in our Treasury Division. Richard, why are the costs to install services so expensive?
So I just wanted to clarify that we have two different types of costs for new applicants. Typically, if it's a brand new service that has never been connected before, we have both the installation charge and the system capacity charge. And if it's in our wastewater district, we also have a wastewater capacity charge. Just let me just briefly touch upon, if you're not familiar with the capacity charges, are the charge that we have not to install the service, but to assess the charge to the new applicants for all the other facilities that they'll be using that have already been put in the ground, that they will be providing them water and wastewater services. So all a share of all the reservoirs, all the different pipes, all the treatment plants. We want to make sure that since those facilities have been paid for by the existing ratepayers, that they get the new ratepayers also pay for that share of their water use. Now, on the installation charges, that more directly to this question, those are the ones that are in the schedules that Jack mentioned. Schedule D is the meter service line installation charges. We do a very comprehensive review of the cost to install both in meters and pipeline extensions. And we look at those costs every year. We do an assessment of what we think it's going to cost to install those, including labor, equipment, materials, paving costs, backfill costs, and any other costs that are associated with putting it in the services and the meters, the services, meters, and pipeline extensions. And just for an example, I just went on and looked at our 1-inch meter, our 1-inch meter installations, which is our standard residential one. And right now it's $9,500. And I just checked a few other local agencies. Alameda County, it's $11,000. San Francisco is $12,000. Wasn't able to get Contra Costa. But when we've done a survey, most of our installation charges seem to be in line with what other agencies are charging. And again, because these are specific to the new customers, we want to make sure that we're not subsidizing the cost with existing ratepayers, so that we want to make sure that the cost to provide these services for new applicants are paid for by the applicants. And so that's something that we do, and we update those costs every year, just like other businesses that have to make sure that they're recovering their costs. And obviously we don't recover a profit on it, but we definitely want to make sure that we're recovering our costs. So I think that covers the question.
Thank you, Richard. The next question is for Jack again. Jack, would East Bay MUD be willing to set up monthly check-ins with applicants and/or provide status updates via email?
Yeah, and this is something that we had previously covered, but when there's a larger main extension project and a project that's going to take a long time to process, we have a lot of subject matter experts that are involved, or even you as the developer or the applicant have a lot of members on your team that need to be involved in providing specific information to ensure that the design continues to move forward at a standard pace, and all the needed experts are in the room. We'll set up bi-monthly meetings where we can all come together. We can discuss the issues. We can ensure that the information that you as the applicant have given us is what we need, or maybe there's information that needs to be tweaked or altered, and we can keep that project moving. And we found a lot of success with this. And we want to continue to promote that when we've got these complex, unique projects that are going to take a lot of time, we want to support that with the expertise that we have here at East Bay MUD. Also, the online water service application system allows you to view your application status as it moves through the review process internally. So East Bay MUD, when we're reviewing your your application through the various stages, we have the ability to change the status of the application. And that status update helps us keep our track of where you are throughout your review process, but it also updates the status for you. So if you just go to the wsa.ebmud.com and you log into your account, you can see the applications that you have available, and then you can see their status as well. And that status is the actual status that the staff here at ISPA-MUD is reviewing your application for. So you can see that yourself in real time by checking online. Thanks.
Thank you, Jack. The next question is for Whitney Ray with she's a supervisor of water conservation. Whitney, why does East Bay MUD require landscape plans for a community garden?
Yeah, so the Water Conservation Division, we are reviewing all of the indoor water using fixtures along with any landscaped area that will require any outdoor watering. So in the instance of a community garden, that is actually considered a special landscaped area under the MWELO, that's the Model Water Efficient Landscape Ordinance requirements coming from the state. So we review the landscaping plans for a couple of reasons. One of which is to make sure that the meter is sized accurately. So we look at the landscaping plans to determine water usage that'll be used in the landscape area to help the new business office determine what size meter will be required for that specific project. And then additionally, we also just review the plans to confirm that, for example, watering zones are being kind of correctly laid out. So within a community garden, you might have an area over here with some edible plants. That's going to be a higher water using area. And then you might have over here in this other area some more native low water using shrubs. So we kind of want to make sure that water is being applied and used efficiently within that landscaped area, even within the context of a community garden.
Thank you, Whitney. The next question is for you also, Whitney. How does East Bay MUD encourage conversion of single master meters to individual meters in older multifamily housing?
Okay, so I don't know if you guys remember what Jack was kind of speaking to earlier in his presentation regarding Section 2 and starting of service. So there are some sub-metering requirements associated with new multifamily buildings. So that's a state requirement as well within California, requiring that every tenant within a multi-unit property have their own water sub-meter. And so that way landlords can be billing residents for the amount of water that they are using. With that said, for existing builds, we do have a sub-meter program for any add-ons or rebuilds associated with any kind of existing multifamily property. And also, we also here in water conservation are happy to work with any multifamily housing that wants to separate their service. If they're looking to promote water conservation efforts, being able to view water on a unit by unit basis. And if they're not interested in a sub-meter program, we can certainly work with them to separate out those individual meters.
Thank you, Whitney. The next question is for Jack Flynn. Jack, would East Bay MUD consider instating an affordable housing streamlined process?
Thanks. So East Bay MUD processes all applications in a first applied, first served level of assignment. So again, this assures that no one is able to pay more to move their application forward in the application process. And we understand that there are constraints and that all projects want to get their process moved forward towards completion as quickly as possible. But we have to make sure that we're providing the first come, first served equity that we provide to all the customers that we review their applications by. And by addressing the timelines that we know, the issues that we know, where we need to add additional resources to the administrative review process, the different concepts that we've talked about with piloting for the excavation, by also reviewing ways to augment various reviews internally with East Bay MUD. We're looking to improve the whole process holistically. We know that it's not just one aspect within East Bay MUD, but we need to look at everything that's touched with the new business application process and make sure that we're helping everybody out to help move all projects forward and reduce the timelines within East Bay Mud. So we're pushing for those short-term and long-term changes because we really want to help promote the overall applicant process, not just one aspect of the applicant process, but we want to help everybody that goes through to make sure that they can get their water services installed timely and efficiently. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is for Florence Weddington, a senior civil engineer with our Water Resources Department. Florence, are there any plans to add water recycling facilities to East Bay Mud's system? And maybe Florence may be experiencing some difficulties. There she is. Okay, we'll move on to the next question and we can possibly answer that at the end.
Can you hear
Jack,
me now?
yes, we can.
Okay, sorry about that.
Thank you
I
so
don't know
much.
what was going on here. So East Bay Mud does currently have a recycled water program. There's 5 main projects, and we currently have the capacity to serve 9 million gallons per day of recycled water. And our goal is to get to 20 million gallons per day by the year 2040. We are working on expanding our East Bay Shore project, which ultimately will go as far north as Albany and possibly Richmond, and also as far south as Alameda. We are currently looking for supplemental supply to expand our San Ramon Valley recycled water program. And then we're also looking at some additional refinery projects as well as satellite projects. And in the next, I guess, year and a half, we are looking to update our recycled water strategic plan, and we will reevaluate which projects we plan to move forward, as well as the schedule for that. And we'll also reevaluate our 20 million gallon per day recycled water goal.
Thank you, Florence. All right, the next question is for Jack. Jack, can the online application be made easier to fill out for new projects? And in conjunction with that question, another question was posed during the forum. Would East Bay Mud consider updating their online systems? Entering fixture information and irrigation stations are very time consuming. Other systems I have worked on can provide an Excel form which can be filled out, and then the Excel spreadsheet would be uploaded into your system. It would eliminate missing information and can be updated easily.
This is both a great question and a great comment and feedback. So thank you. This is exactly what we're looking for. And so can the online application be made easier to fill out for new projects? Let me address that one first. So the application process, we do require a lot of information. We require information regarding the applicant themselves, then the building owner, the project, permits. We require, again, reaching out to your local fire marshal, ensuring fire life safety items are approved and have been reviewed by them. We require information to be submitted with fixture sheets and spec sheets. And we have added some features that make that easier. And we're looking to get this feedback to incorporate new features. So some of the features that we've added recently is the ability to drag and drop files into the application system. So rather than needing to hit upload and search for a file on your desktop or someplace else and then upload it again, you can take the file and drag and drop it into the location, hit upload, and that'll add it to the system. We also have the ability to upload very large files. So I believe the limit is around 2 gigabytes of information. So pretty much any size file that you've got going on, we can upload. We also added a section for uploading CAD files and zip files. We've made our system more robust by hearing the concerns of applicants on ways to help them make the process easier. We do need to have that information with the fixture spec sheets. It ensures that compliance with Cal Green plumbing codes and ensures compliance with our water conservation section 31 requirements within our regulations. And so some information, even though it's cumbersome to add to the online application system, it's needed in order to ensure that we're providing you with the appropriately sized meter, that you're providing us with the information to ensure you're in compliance with state's requirements as well as our regulations, and then making sure that you're in compliance with outside agencies as well, like the local fire agency, to ensure that you've gone to them with the items required for fire life safety, and they've reviewed your project, which is necessary. So then we know what's needed by the local fire marshal. If you need a fire hydrant, or if the size of your service needs to be increased to account for fire sprinkler system, or maybe you need a new private fire sprinkler system or private fire service altogether. So all of those items are necessary to ensure that when the various aspects of review is being performed by East Bay Mud, we don't have to come back to you and ask for a bunch of different information every single time. But if we can get it all in the front end, then it makes the review on the back end a lot more streamlined. So yes, we know it's a lot of information. It is a process to upload. It is a process to make happen. But that process then helps out in the future when we're reviewing the application, when the different subject matter experts internally at East Bay Mud are working to process your application to ensure compliance and ensure metering sizes. As far as the comment about the Excel sheet, and if that's something that we could have a feature with an upload button or something similar to that, that's a fantastic comment. We'll take it and add it with our professionals that created the online water service application system. It's something we're really proud of, or I'm really proud of, that East Bay Mud does have a robust online water service application system that's created by East Bay Mud staff. They do a great job and really have made the program more accessible to all our applicants across the board. So I love the feedback. Thank you for providing that. And we'll take that and share it with our professionals that design the system. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Unfortunately, most of these questions are all for you today. So I'd love to be able to give somebody else something, but if you can answer the next question, it is, how can we apply early if you will not look at our application until the fire marshal is finished? The fire marshal will not sign the document you want until everything else in the permit process is complete.
So again, and I think I kind of answered this a little bit before, but we need to make sure that the fire marshal is reviewing your project for fire life safety items. We really work with them to ensure that them as the experts are the ones that are reviewing for those matters. So then we can make sure that us as the water department are abiding by the needs of your project as well as the needs of the local fire agency or local fire marshal. So we want to make sure that if your project needs a fire hydrant, the fire marshal says no, hey, this project needs a fire hydrant, and then we can work with you to get that hydrant installed. Or if your project needs a special situation that the fire marshal's worked with you on, we need to have that information filled out on the forms. Then we can then process your application, make sure that it sizes the meters correctly and provides you with the appropriately sized services that you need for your fire life safety items. And that's an item that East Bay Mud is required or requires of the fire marshal to provide us. Thanks.
Thank you, Jack. One further question here for you, Jack, is how do I apply for service to a space with no tenant yet? We are told we cannot start the application without a tenant in place.
And this goes back to the needs of the application system as a whole. So when we size meters, we're sizing it for the needs of service. So if you need service, at that moment for a tenant or a tenant space. If you know that your tenant's going to be a restaurant and you're going to build out a restaurant, let us know that that's what you're doing, that you're building out a restaurant, and have that information. But we can't provide a size of a service without having any idea what's going into that space. Again, with my previous explanation, there's a big difference in water use between a library and a commercial kitchen. Both could go within a commercial space, but you're going to have a much different size meter that's required to ensure compliance. And we can't just install a small meter thinking, oh, it's going to be a library, but then there's a larger meter that's needed to meet the demands of a commercial kitchen that pops up. So we definitely need to have the information for the tenant that's going to go into your space, so then we can provide you with the appropriately sized meter and ensure that we're providing the needed size for water for whatever is getting built. And that's part of ensuring that we're helping you have the right size for your future tenant. And it's about 2:15 now. And I really appreciate everyone's questions and all the information that's come in. I know that there's more questions that we haven't addressed, and we're going to have to address those questions online. What we'll do is on the links page right now, you can see there's a new meter installation facts section or an FAQ section, and we'll add a section there about this forum, so then we can address the questions, the presentation, the comments, the feedback, and so then we can have it all in one spot. But to close out the meeting, I want to give some time for our directors to speak. And so Director Coleman, if you'd be willing, give us a few minutes to close out, and then know that everyone keep on throwing comments in the Q&A, and we'll make sure that we address all those comments online. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Jack, and to the staff who participated in the forum today. This forum came as a result of, again, a number of issues that have come my way and to other board members via email or phone calls. And we clearly understand that we needed to look at doing things differently, in a different way. We actually have received a lot of good feedback for us that we're going to be implementing, and some new feedback came in today as well that we can look at implementing. So we had 149 people on this call today. So I'd like to thank you for your participation. And I would also like to say, if you ever have additional questions, you have the phone numbers and emails of staff that were participating today. But I'll also give you mine, because many of you have it already, but if you don't, my email is Coleman, COLEMAN, @ebmud.com. My phone number is 510-590-0238. And I think by the commitment that we had Director Katz and Director Patterson listening in today as